This is an energizing practice for building strength and feeling a sense of being really centered in yourself. We're going to do a lot of oblique work, which basically the obliques, there's different layers of oblique muscles. We've got internal and external. All that really matters that you know in your body is that the obliques essentially help strap our rib cage to the pelvis, and they kind of do this kind of strapping over, kind of X over our body. Just as life and time goes on, we lose the capacity to really find those muscles and connect them across the body. But it's one of the best things we can do for strength, for posture, for just like when we're talking about like core work. The obliques are really tied into a sense of like core and feeling your center. So the oblique work that we'll do today, it's basically, will be a lot of twisting, but it's from a place of almost like resisting that you're twisting. So the spine itself doesn't really rotate and twist a whole lot. It's actually the muscles that turn and rotate the spine and the other pieces of the body. So we'll start with just a seated position. I'm seated on 2 blocks here. You can just see there's 2 blocks. You can sit in Virasana or you can sit cross-legged. And just sitting up nice and tall and just kind of finding middle for now. Getting a sense of your sits bones, rooting down through wherever your seat is. And just taking a breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, keep your sits bones rooted. Feel the brain lift on your exhale. And then you'll take your left hand and you'll take it across to your right thigh. You'll take your other hand and you'll reach it back behind your sacrum to just kind of settle there on the back body. Okay, and when you inhale, take a breath. And exhale, instead of your arms cranking you into it, try to turn your body like a little corkscrew. So I'll turn, really, essentially, I'm turning my rib cage. So everything above the rib cage starts to twist, but my pelvis doesn't change. So I'm keeping my pelvis really rooted. I'm not tipping back or forward. I'm just right in the middle of myself, and I'm turning my rib cage like a little lid on a jar kind of feeling. Inhaling. And exhaling, slowly rotating yourself. And you can turn the head over that shoulder, that right shoulder. And take a breath here. Feel the breath blossom underneath your collarbones. And as you exhale, feel this like strength of your low belly kind of pumping into your body and lifting up towards your heart. One more time. Inhale, fluffy collarbones. And exhale, spin yourself around the little carousel of your spine. Rotate your head back to center and then release the twist. Take an inhale. Exhale to find center. And then we'll go the other way. Take your right arm across the left thigh. Take your back arm behind you and you can let it rest on your sacrum, that place where your spine and your pelvis meet in the back. This is just to give you a little package, a sense of like being a little package, and you're going to start to turn your body, but really trying not to like side bend your body in any way. Okay, so if the rib cage is just nice and level, if we were turning it like a lid on a jar, or like if you were dusting a tabletop, just try to keep this level with the chin. Take a breath here, inhale down into the sits bones. And as you exhale, think about turning the rib cage, but not the pelvis. So the whole rib cage, kind of like you're going up a ladder. It's like a spiral staircase. So as you go up the spiral staircase, you kind of turn around yourself. And whenever you kind of hit those bigger steps where it feels like you can't quite get up and over, stay and breathe. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, a little bit of softening internally, even though you're going up the staircase. And if you want, you can turn your head back around you. Take a breath, looking over the shoulder. And then exhale, turning the head back. Come back to center, release the arms, and back into the lap they go. Okay, and then we'll come on to hands and knees. So we'll come off of your blocks. If that was a lot on the knees, if you guys were sitting like me, you can take your leg and you can reach it straight back behind you. So as I reach my leg straight back behind, I'm going to just kind of tuck my toes and press the heel away. I'm going to keep my head nice and light. Let's get a little calf stretch there and then switch. Tuck the other toes, reach straight back. Try to keep yourself kind of like lifted away from the floor, even the sides of the throat and the face. and then release that. Okay, placing the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. And then just very gently take an inhale breath here in neutral. And as you exhale, flip the sits bones down, the tailbone down. The big toes root down into the floor and they reach back actively. Okay, and then try to let the back of your brain move away from the top of the rib cage. Inhale, pull the chest forward. The chest reaches forward more than the chin. And if that's hard to do, you can start with the chin and pull the chest through, and then bring the neck back to a neutral. Okay, push away. Next breath, push, push, push away. Try to narrow the sides of your waist and lift them up towards the sky. Inhale, pull the chest through. Tops of the feet stay rooted. Exhale, push the ground away. The sits bones roll down towards the backs of the knees, the tops of the feet, and shins anchor into the floor. And then from there, we'll just sit the hips back towards child's pose. We'll walk the arms forward, but we'll keep the head lifted. Okay, and the head lifted, just still try to feel the sides of your throat lift. So the chin isn't jutting forward, the chin is kind of just gently pulling in towards the throat. Okay, and then from there, walk your hands over to the left. Reach your arms out away from your right side waist. And as your arms reach out, think of gills on the right side of your waist. Take an inhale breath into those gills. And as you exhale, you can let your pelvis sink a little bit further away from your reaching arm. From that reaching arm across the right side waist, reach the right pelvis back away from that. And then slowly lift and come out of it and switch sides. Take your left arm across to the right. Try to keep the chest somewhat lifted off of the thighs to start. And then go for length forward to back with your spine. So try not to sink into the floor. You're going to kind of get a little bit of lift from the reach of the left hand and the reaching back of the left pelvis. Inhaling, breathe into those fish gills on the sides of your body. And as you exhale, can you feel the pubic bone slide back away from the sternum and the sternum slide forward away from the pubic bone? Taking an inhale one more time. Inhale. Sides of the neck long. And exhale, get a little more weighted in that left heel, left hip. And nice and slow, come back to center. Plant your hands down. Then we'll tuck the toes. And we're just going to hover here for a second. So we'll hover and just try to stay in like kind of a bear pose. So as the knees are tucked, or the feet are tucked underneath you, hover the knees up. And then you're just going to try not to rotate here. So some of that oblique work that we're talking about is actually learning not to rotate the rib cage. So try to keep, if there was a spotlight right in the middle of your chest, in the middle of your belly, like just below the belly button, try to shine those spotlights straight down towards the floor. Okay, and then as we're here, we'll float the knees up. Okay, keeping that nice and centered position. Take your right leg back like you're going to step towards a plank. And try to resist the body collapsing or turning away from the floor. And then maybe hover that leg up. Really powerful reach through the back leg. Take an inhale. Lots of work on that standing leg. And as you exhale, set it back down. Okay, a little kind of like bear crawl position. Inhale, take a breath. Fill up your back body. Core stays engaged, kind of like you're packing into yourself. And then take that other leg back without rotating. Okay, as you kick back, I've got some blocks back there. As you kick back, try to get long through the middle of the spine and the front of the spine. Okay, keep this sense of like firm neck so that you don't turn your spotlights. And breathe. And then slowly set it down. Lift your hips. Down dog. And as we're in down dog, see if you can start to get a little sense of a lift of the front of your ribs and a movement of your thighs away from your belly. So your belly moves away from your thighs and your thighs move away from your belly. It's kind of like if I were going to come bring a big ball under your belly, you would give space to that. It's a nice long line of space. Take a breath here. And as you're ready, exhale, bend your knees, walk your hands back to meet your feet, and let your brain drop. Try to let the back of the skull open. The knees will bend. And as the knees bend, try to root through the middle of your feet. And as I move through the middle of my feet into the earth,
I'm going to try to lift the middle of my inner thighs up towards my pelvis. And then from there, I'm going to push down into the floor. That should load the legs a bit, and then we'll start to roll up. And then again, just finding this place of the brain on top of the pelvis, on top of the feet and the ankles. Okay, and as you're ready, we'll reach your arms up. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold, bend your knees. Push through the middle of the floor with the middle of your foot. Inhale, pull the chest forward, longer out of the pubic bone. And exhale, back down. Ground through the floor, reach up with your arms. And inhale, float the arms back down. Brain right on top of the ankles. Awesome. So we'll walk ourselves forward. And we'll just do a little bit of what we call a chair pose. So as if you were going to sit back into a chair. Okay, but as you sit back, see if you can get the sides of the pelvis to really slide straight back without any kind of like dumping in the belly or the rib cage. So similar to that, like nice long line of energy through the front of your spine. Okay, and then we'll just take a step back with your right foot. Big step back with your right foot, hands to your chest once you get there. Okay, and then the same thing. Try not to steer the spotlights of your pelvis and your chest away from the floor. You're just going to start to turn your head away from that back leg or towards the front leg. And see if you can keep driving your back heel out of the floor into the crown of your head. Okay, that will start to take you into some rotation. So turn your right rib cage towards the front leg. Hands to prayer in front of your heart or hand to the outer thigh. Biggest thing here that people miss with the oblique work and the core working, outer hip, is that we kind of tend to collapse and shoot the hip out to the side. See if you can keep yourself kind of like packed in side to side, and you're going longer through a tube as you turn the rib cage. So as the rib cage turns, the back leg stays steady, doesn't change. Okay, taking a breath in here. And as you exhale, see if you can start to open up the top of the collarbones and shoot the sides of the neck longer. And then maybe you open up your wingspan. You can reach that top arm out of the chest. And just make sure as you do that, that it's really this like spreading out through the chest, but this lifting of that lower right waist. And then slowly come out of it. And we're going to counter rotate. So we'll keep the legs as they are. I know you're working. Start to turn your chest open away from that front leg, but the knee stays steady, it doesn't come with you. Okay, keeping that shin bone like a pillow right up over the ankle joint. Turn your rib cage away from your front leg. Okay, and then again, if you wanted, you could open up your wingspan and shoot the sides of the neck longer out of the back leg. One more breath here, and then you'll rotate out of it. Take an inhale breath back to center with the chest. And an exhale breath to step forward. Whew, okay. Inhale, raise your arms. Exhale, forward fold. Let the brain go. Halfway lift. Pull the side chest forward through the arms. Crown of the head reaches. And then exhale, forward fold again. This time, sit into chair from here. So as you're down on the ground, bend your knees a lot. Move your pubic bone and tail back. But see if you can kind of gather pelvic floor. So it's like a little package of the base of your pelvis. So I'm not gripping it, I'm not holding on to dear life, but there's this little support of the base of my pelvis as I push into my feet. Okay, and then from here, we'll take the hands to the hips, lift yourself up slightly, and then take that other leg back. We'll do a big step back with the left leg. Back heel is going to be driving up off of the floor to drive energy into this back leg. Okay, so as I drive energy into my back leg, as if I were going to come and sit on your thigh here, you're going to try to have all of this pressure back up towards the ceiling before you start turning. Really important to set the foundation first. Okay, take an inhale. I'm going to take my hands to my chest to start on this one. And then as I exhale, I'm going to turn towards my front leg with my rib cage. But I'm also trying to de-rotate my pelvis. So as the pelvis stays stable, you'll have less rotation, which is actually more muscular strength work. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, your back inner heel drives up the crown of your head to twist you deeper. Okay, and just kind of resisting your right hip, the front butt, hugging that right hip into the back heel as you twist your rib cage around. Inhale. Maybe open up the wingspan as you exhale. Feeling yourself get a little more packed in with the waist and a little longer through that crown of your head and the back leg. One more breath. Inhale and breathe. It's important to stay as much as you want to get out of it. Important to stay so you kind of see where you need to work more. You see what parts of your body are holding, what parts of your body need a little boost of strength or energy. And then when you're ready, you'll turn the other way. I've got my hands at my chest. You can go hands out. This tends to keep me more center and know where I am in space though. Okay, so this front leg is nice and steady, back leg is steady. I'm rotating my rib cage away from that front knee this time, but I'm still keeping that pressure straight down, just above, just in front of the heel. Trying to keep my foot really steady and even. It's a lot of work. Take a breath. And exhale. Come back to center. Step forward. Ooh. Inhale, reach your arms. And exhale, forward fold. Let your brain go, but feel this kind of zippering up of your inner thighs towards pelvic floor. And there's gentle shakes of the head, no. Let the base of the skull go. And then nice and slow, we'll bend. A little chair pose again. Reach your arms out in front of you this time. If this is a lot on the low back, you'll keep your hands here at your chest. If you want to go for the reach of the arms, you'll reach the triceps forward without dumping the ribs. Okay, and then from there, you're going to sit the pubic bone back, but keep this sense of lift of the low belly as you do that. Okay, so you can really start to tease more length out of the body. Take one more breath here. Try to get equal weight on your feet, equal reach through the sides of the waist, and then push through your feet a ton and come up to stand. Woo. Inhale, raise your arms. And exhale, arms by your side, Tadasana. Awesome. Okay, so we're just going to do some very directly oblique work. So the standing poses that we just did are very, there are a lot of legs to get the obliques to turn on. This is pretty much very directly oblique work. So as you're on the ground, just put your thumb on the bottom ribs so you can feel where your ribs are there on the bottom of your body, or the bottom of the ribs are there in your body. Okay, thumb's there, and then whichever finger, it can be middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, find the top of your hips. Okay, and then try to feel those top hip points, or pelvic points rather, and your lower ribs have this little box, this little square where they come together. Okay, and then as best as you can, keep that square, and as if you were going to cough, do a little to kind of firm yourself in. Okay, so you'll feel this firming in of your waist. Just so you can see me here. Okay, firming in of the waist, and then you'll lift your feet. Okay, and then from there, if we can maintain that sense of keeping this all even, we're just going to turn it slightly. So if this were a little throw pillow, you're just going to you're going to twist the throw pillow a little bit, this square throw pillow inside of your mid body. Okay, we'll take the hands behind the head. Okay, and we're just going to try to resist the lower ribs lifting off of the floor. We're going to coach those guys to come down into the floor, and then we're going to lift the upper ribs away from the floor. So just doing that, I'm already shaking. Okay, and then push down through the middle of your body. Extend your right leg straight out, but keep that throw pillow nice and even. Okay, and then throw pillow, that's funny. Okay, and then when you go to turn, I'm bringing my right rib cage towards my left pelvic half, not my elbow towards my knee. Okay, I'm trying to go more from the core of myself. So there will be more shaking. It's going to be harder. Take a breath into your back body without letting your abs go, and then see if you can lift up with those upper ribs and slight turn and reach of the ribs towards the pelvis. Okay, the more you can get the back flat on the floor, the better and sweeter this work is. And then slowly bend. Take an inhale. Exhale, root yourself down into the floor, those bottom ribs. Feel the upper ribs lift off the floor with your face. And And try to still keep the head like moving back into the body even though the lower ribs are lifting up. Okay, once you extend that left leg, it's left lower ribs towards right upper pelvis. Whew, I'm weaker on this side. You'll feel like there's one side where you're weaker. Try to keep the pelvis rooted, the ribs rooted on the bottom. Then twist it slightly. Lift, 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 lift. And then come back. You probably already feel some burning there. Inhale, lift up, root yourself down. Press the right leg straight, lift and twist towards the left. See if you can keep firming that right side waist down to the floor even though you're twisting. And then switch. Left leg out. Upper ribs lift, lower ribs root down. When you're ready, lift from that mid-body place, not the shoulders, not the neck. Lift and twist. The lower that straight leg goes, the more challenging it is. If you feel your low back start to lift with a lower straight leg, then you're going too low. Okay, 2 more. Extend. I'm burning, and that's like number 4. Okay, the slower micro movements get you really deeper into the muscular work. Longer, stronger stability in the body. Right leg goes straight, right waist goes down, right upper ribs lift and twist. Woo! And then back. 1 more time. Okay, so as I lift and twist, I'm also rooting myself down into the floor. Okay, I'm trying to resist my body back bending like that. That's what keeps that burn going, is that I keep myself rooted. Okay, that's enough. Lower down. Release the feet, release your hands. Take a breath in. Exhale. And then we'll go at it again, just in a little different way. Okay, so that was stabilizing the lower body and moving the upper body around it. This time we're going to stabilize the upper body and lift and move the lower body. Okay, so from here, when you're ready, you'll anchor your lower ribs into the floor. Try to resist the shoulders turning on a whole lot. Try to keep the shoulders kind of smooth across the chest. Hands can be out like so, or they can be bent like this. Okay, I'm going to keep mine bent as long as that doesn't mess with my camera angle. I think that's good. Okay, and so from here, I'm going to, as I lift my feet, I already feel my muscles working for my last reps. I'm going to really try to cinch, and you can put your hands on your body to feel this. I'm going to try to cinch my waist, not just in, but down into the floor so that this action isn't happening in my ribs. Okay, and then especially as you try to lift your pelvis, it's not going to be a big movement, but this is usually what tends to go in like 95% of us. So keep the ribs anchored, okay, and then make it about your feet. If I were to stick a little ball in between your legs, or you were to stick a little ball in between your legs, I want you to think of a magnet pulling that ball up straight up towards the ceiling as you chase it with your tailbone. So the tailbone will lift, the knees will lift, but you're going to try to resist bringing the legs back towards your face. Okay, you're going to try to go up, 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 up with your tail, and down, 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 down with your ribs. Take a breath. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Shoulders stay rooted. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Tail curls to chase the backs of the knees. Up, up, up go the legs. You can see this is not a big movement at all. There's a lot going on if you get the breath down. Exhale, down with the ribs, up with the tail. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Ball goes straight up, knees go straight up. Lift, 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 lift. And release. Hug your knees in and rock side to side. And then go ahead and set your feet down. Take a breath. Last thing we'll finish with will be some planks. And we'll call these like rainbow planks. Okay, so as I'm going to flip over and switch my view, I think this is actually probably good. Yeah, this is probably good. Okay, so as I go into my plank, I'm going to try to sense like I've got this really straight spine through my body, but I'm going to come onto my forearms. So I'm just going to like chop the ground clean away from my forearms. And when I take a leg back, let me get here. When I take a leg back, I'm gonna take my sit bone and hug it into the back of my heel. Okay, so underneath there's kind of this like hugging down that already turns my core on. And then when you take your next leg back, there's just this tendency to want to like lift the butt and drop the belly, and we kind of shift off of our arms. This is usually the plank when we don't want to do the ab work. Okay, so try to pull your chest forward through your arms. And even here, see how my butt is still up and my back is down? I'm going to take my butt bones, my sits bones, and hug them into the back of my heels and lift the front of my pelvis up. Okay, and as I do that, I'm just this nice long stick, this nice long board, trying to get my butt slightly lower than my head, but everything's pressing down to lift up. Okay, and then from there, you'll take your pelvis and you're just gonna kind of rainbow it over to the left. As you rainbow over, try to stay equally heavy on your right shoulder. This is very hard to do. You're gonna try to keep pressing down through your right even though your pelvis is going to the left, and then pick it up. Front of the pelvis lifts, sits bones go down. I'm gonna arc over, stay heavy into my left elbow, forearm this time, and roll my pelvis over towards the right. I'm gonna keep moving my chest forward, my sits bones go down away from my face and my head. And then the other way. Woo, Bernie, Bernie. Rotate. Pull the chest through the arms, sits bones down, front of the pelvis up, and then lift up again. And then go the other way, last time. Rotate over, pick your frontal hip point up, send the back of the sit bone down, pull the chest forward, belly up, belly up, belly up. Back to center for a breath. Oh, and exhale, bend the knees, lower down. Oh, abs. We're gonna let your head turn to one side, let your big toes come together, and the heels move away from each other. And just take a breath into the back of your body, into your belly. And then exhale, however you need to. One more time, inhaling. And exhaling. And then take your hands underneath you. Tuck your toes. Sorry, not tuck your toes, tops of your toes. Sit on back towards plank. Stack your hands underneath you. I'm going to take my hair out just to kind of coax the relaxation process into the body. No tension around my skull. Okay, and just feel the contact in this position of your belly and your thighs together. If you can really breathe more of that connection on your inhale. And on your exhale, see if you can let your femurs drop back away from the thighs. So it's like your femurs drop more towards the hamstrings, away from your quads rather. And you'll make your way up to a seated position, whatever's comfortable for you. You can bring your blocks back or your seat wherever you started. And then just go and close your eyes, either hands in your lap, or you can kind of come back to that place of feeling where your middle is. Like oblique crossover space. Just feeling like these pathways of crossing over midline in the body. There can be areas of stickiness, there can be areas of disconnectedness through these kind of crossover patterns. And just the more that we kind of weave the breath into our movement, the cleaner and more connected our body becomes, so that we really do truly feel like in the center of ourselves. So I hope this practice was energizing for you, and you build some strength in your abs, your core, not just your rectus abs that we all know is like the six-pack abs, but like kind of the tubular core that supports your spine and your respiratory diaphragm.